Our latest Sigma is about customized, structured insurance and reinsurance solutions. And there tend to be three motivations for these: risk transfer, growth, and financing. Let me just give you an example of a financing one, so that you understand kind of the deals that are done, structured today for insurers in particular. In this case, it was an insurer that was looking for acquisitions, and as it looked for acquisitions, it worried about its statutory capital ratio. So it wanted to be able to have a deal and not have to get involved in a lot of discussions with reinsurers while they're getting involved with a deal. So they structured a quota share that had a dynamic and cession rate that went up as they acquired more companies along the way. So if they bought a large company, it would be a more greater cession rate than if they bought a smaller one, but it went up in either case. And this is very good for getting specialized solutions for insurers as well as often corporations.
Go back about 20 years in terms of analyzing calendar year results, and the key finding is that there is normally a disparity between calendar year and accident year right before we have deficient reserves, and we were able to identify some disparities in certain lines of business. Although they're less dramatic than last time, it looks like we're now in a danger phase where reserves may be deficient.
And from your point of view, are the reinsurers and the cedants fully aware of the issues maybe potentially on the horizon?
So I think some are and some aren't, but there are definitely issues potentially on the horizon, particularly if we get loss cost inflation, and especially if accident year experience starts to deteriorate at the same time that we're seeing calendar year redundancies. Those redundancies are getting less. For some companies, the cushions look like they're getting a bit smaller, and when calendar year crosses over accident year and we start to get net sector deficiencies, that is where I think people may not be paying attention. You've got to look at this as a sector-wide issue rather than a specific company issue, because sector-wide, that's what drives reinsurance pricing, and once the sector changes, pricing will change.
In order to stay relevant for Munich Re, it's very important that we adapt our business models to our changing environment. We are currently going through a technological revolution. I think Internet of Things may serve as one example, and we are doing our utmost to deal with these kind of new risks and challenges, and this starts from risk assessment, risk mitigation, via the process side, so how can we automate underwriting processes, up to the product sphere, so how can we cope with these new risk situations. And it's definitely our goal here to shape the industry and to pave the floor into that direction. Having a very resilient balance sheet in our background and the resources, particularly also the intellectual resources, we think that we are in a good position to master these challenges.
I think it's been really interesting, this rendezvous, to hear how much talk there's been around technology and potential disruption around technology. I think for us at Tokio Millennium, we recognize that agility and speed are going to become extremely important going forward. I think the pace of change that's coming via technology is not going to slow down. So Tokio Millennium is doing what it can to make sure that we have an operating platform and technology that's going to help us really transform the way that we move risk from our balance sheet to third-party capital. And we intend to be a leader, as we have been up until now and since 2003, around this space.
A fascinating roundtable discussion where technology was absolutely on the agenda. We talked across the range of what technology can do in terms of taking a lot of cost out of the industry, which is absolutely paramount, and everybody agrees on that. Interesting discussion on Uberization. Will there be a major disruptor into reinsurance? People think not. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. We focused on London as well. London may be crying out for some process change over and above elsewhere in order to protect its position. So lots and lots of discussion, finished up with Brexit. I think we all agree that the sooner uncertainty disappears, the better it will be for everybody. But overall, totally fascinating discussion.
I'm Alice Vaidyan, chairperson of GIC Re here. It's good to be back in Monte Carlo, and it's good to be back with a new mandate as the new chairman cum managing director of GIC Re, with a mandate to put GIC Re on the top 10 reinsurers of the world and to drive GIC Re as a more underwriting profitability. We are talking about the growth in the Indian sector. I think that is the interest point with all reinsurers here who have gathered here. From one of the fastest growing economies in the world, we are looking at 7.5 to 8% growth for the Indian economy. And for the Indian insurance market, we are looking at growth between 15 to 20% this year. Compared to our traditional motor and health segments, which have been growing at a fast pace, this year we're looking at growth of around 20% for the agricultural sector, with a new government scheme being introduced for the Indian market, for all the farmers. So we're looking at good growth from the ASEAN countries and India in particular, and we are here to discuss various strategies about the continuing soft pricing in the international markets. And we hope that the reinsurers will gather together and discuss some strategies which can address this issue as well.